The Cheerful Flowers bundle has 3 different products in it. You've got the dies, which has kind of like an inlay die design so that you can cut the base of the flower and then also the outline and the interior pieces. There's also a thinking of you and also the shadow or halo die for it. You can kind of see back here how you can pair them together as an example. There's also a background stamp with the same kind of style of flowers, and then a 6x9 stencil set. Now there are 6 stencils in this stencil set, and you can get quite a variety of different looks with this one. Now something to note that's interesting is that the background stamp matches like this portion of the stencil set. So you can use the stencils to color in the images on the stamp. Now that sometimes, because the stamp is very flexible and it really depends on how you pull it off of the clear sheet, it might not match up with the stencil perfectly. So I'm going to show you an example of a card that I created right here where I first stamped and gold heat embossed the lines from the design. And then I used the stencil to color everything in. You can see there's just a couple little white spots that are peeking out where it didn't line up perfectly. But one way you can get around that is kind of line up your stencils, like each layer. There's different flower layers, different leaf layers. Line them up in one area, ink blend that, and then you can shift the stencil a little bit for the other areas. Each one of the flowers is isolated from the other, so it's really easy to just, after you've ink blended one of the flowers, pick up the stencil and then center around another one. That's a great way to make sure you have everything lined up. You could also just be super careful when you remove the background stamp from the clear sheet that it's stored on. You could even possibly, peel it off and then let it sit and kind of shrink back to its original size. Sometimes that helps too when you're using really large background stamps like this. So this is the first card that I made using the stamp and also the stencil set. Here's another one with the stencils right here. And on both of these, I used the Thinking of You dies from the die set. So this is really fun. You can get like 2-tone flowers. There are 2 stencils. I'll just open the stencils and I'll show you. So you have the stencil design that is the full design. And I used that for ink blending this one. I just used a little bit of grapefruit and sorbet and kind of got a nice blend there. So you can use this design that is the full outline of all the flowers, but then you have all the other elements broken out, and you also have 2 flower layers. You've got this one and this one. When you put them together, you have all of the flowers in the design, but as you can see, they're separated so you can have different colors of flowers. Also on the stencils, hopefully you can see this, there are etched lines of the full design. That will help cue you up on how to get them positioned and match up just right on your project. Here's another one where I did the stenciling and had it kind of fade off at a diagonal off to one side. This is a 5x7 card, by the way. These 2 are A2. And if you ink blend on a half sheet of letter paper, you can actually cut it in half, like here it was like this, and you get 2 card fronts. So the stencil is large enough that you can ink blend 2 different card fronts. And then here's a card that features the flower dies over here. I did 4 different inlay flowers, glued them to my card, and then cut off whatever was hanging off the edges. This greeting here is from a different stamp and die set in this release. I wanted to show you just a couple more backgrounds. This one I used a brighter blue. I think that was Aqua Sky. Thought that was really pretty. And then I've got a couple other little die cuts that I didn't have a chance to put on cards yet, but these could very easily go together, pair up for a card.